Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with today's video, and I've gone back to the beginning of the quilting because so many people are interested in starting to quilt now, and so I went back and I'm sort of going to piggyback on the very first one of the very first videos I did, and I went back in one of my books, and it's American Patchwork and Quilting 1985, and it is a book. And they did a placemat, very nice and simple, and it's the way everybody would pretty much do it, but we're going to do it by hand. So stay tuned. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to show you the beginning of the placemat that I was going to do, and just do for fun, because I always tell you I do a practice one first, and you wouldn't have to be this big. But this is going to be the actual size of one. It's about 12 by 16, and it's going to have 6 rows going across and 8 columns going up and down. So I went and found a piece of cardboard, and it actually, all of them would fit on there. And then I numbered the sides, and then I numbered the bottom. And I'm going to tell you that's really helpful, because when I started down in the lower left-hand corner, this green corner right here, and I built going up, and I had material left from a quilt, and then I added some other pieces. So I had a little bit of a start for this one, but this can be as crazy, as fun as you want to, because you're just getting started. And I went through and I numbered, I wrote down, if you were doing it, looking at that diagonal, that in the bottom you'd have 1 block that color. And then as you moved up to row 2, the second one, you'd have 2 in the diagonal. And it would continue to that till 6, 7, and 8 all have 6 blocks in it. And you're saying, well, why are you telling us that? Well, because as you start to look at your material, you don't want to start cutting and find out that your material was only big enough to make 4 blocks, unless you haven't done 4 yet, and then you can add that on there. And this will be in the descriptions, and you don't have to use it, but it's just an idea so you know, because the most of any color you're going to need, though, is going to be 6 that's going to come in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to move that. And I think I'm going to just start, I like to start at the top, and I'm going to start with those in just a minute. And I like the way this went back to one of the ways, if you've watched some of the videos that you've seen that I did. And I like this for a beginner. You take your piece of fabric, and this is going to be easier for you if you're going to start with some light fabrics, because you're going to want to see the lines that we're going to make. And you're going to need a 2-inch, 2.5-inch square. That's going to be your starting. And when we get finished, you're going to have 2-inch squares. So what you do is, let's say I needed 2, and I want to make 2 of these dot ones. So I'm turned it over to the back. I laid it down on on there, and if I took Manilla folders and I stapled 2 layers together. If you turn them over, then it'll lay flat. You won't have that nubby part of that on there. And you trace around there, and on this, a mechanical pencil works great. And then you can go ahead and you can do the next one that you're going to need. Now, to make this so that it comes out as nice as you'd like it to be, you take the little one we cut out, and there again, I put 2 pieces together and stapled it. And I'm going to lay it down so it looks centered in that first patch that I drew. I'm going to take my mechanical pencil, and I'm going to go around that one, and then I'm going to move it over to this one, and I'm going to trace around it. And all of a sudden, you have got a lot of your unknowns taken care of. And then you take your scissor, and then just very carefully, because like you'll find out if you've never done any quilting before, the carefully you are with your laying out and your cutting, the better chance you have of having things meet. And so that would be one of my patches that could go down there. And you can see I use light material. So I'm going to pass that over now. And that's sort of why I was telling you how many you would need, so you wouldn't have to keep looking back at the picture until, but you would know then that, and the first stitch goes together because the first one is just 1, the next one's 2, the next one's 3, the next one's 4, until you get to that 666 row. And then always, as you're playing with this, add your personality to it, even at the beginning. If you're doing the diagonals and there's something that you really like, and in this case, I ran out of pink. And I said, okay, well, here's where I'm going to put some of my personality. And I went and I did a fussy cut of a butterfly. And then I turned it up. I had it turned over because I could see through there, to see where it was going to fit pretty well. And then I did my box for sewing, and that one's ready to go there. And this is just a suggested format. You can move them around any way you want to once you have some. But this way you know that you have enough for your rows. Then the needle's not going to be that important except that you like it. There's nothing worse than picking up the wrong needle and trying to do it with the wrong job. And for this one, you want a needle that's pointed and slender and not real long. Doesn't have to be real long. It depends on your hand how much you can hold on to. So I'm going to take and come down here, and I'm actually going to start here in the bottom because that's where I am. I'm going to take this green, and I'm going to take the color laying next to it. Now the nice thing is we've done that inside box all the way around. Get it up here where you can see it. Okay? And I have taken a thread. Now I'm using a dark thread because hopefully some of it will show. But even if you're putting pieces together and they're kind of dark, you could use that. Most of it will not show. So I'm going to come over here to the very corner. And I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to put my knot in. Run my knot back there. Okay. Now I'm going to start going. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm going to sew to the left. I'm going to go down. I've actually pricked my finger just a little bit, so I know I went all the way through. And then I'm going to go again. My needle's big enough for that. And I pricked my finger a little bit. And pretty soon you'll quit pricking your finger. And then I prick my finger again. But you'll find out that if you're doing a big project, your finger will get tough after a while right there from the stitches. Then stop and pull your stitches on through. Straighten your thread out, and there you can just take and run your fingers through it and run it back, and then turn it over and look and see if they've caught. Now, don't worry that they are not on the same, that they're not on the same line as you were working on the front. That's not going to make any difference. As long as you're on the front line, you know that you're making a nice square. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to go down and up, and I can do a couple more because this is a nice pointed needle, up and down. But if you just want to do one stitch for a while till you get where you're happy with your stitches, and this is not one where you're going to do a long running stitch because you want these to stay together, even though you might quilt over the top. And there you can see it good. I've had to change rooms today trying to find a good light. See if this helps. And then I'm ready to start. And you can just do one, but I'm going to run it over to the edge. And over to the corner. I'm not going to the edge. Well, towards the edge, and there's where you had the stop for your inside box. And then how I usually take care of closing off is to run the needle under to the back and then run it again about twice. All right, and this is not a job where you can just keep sewing. So for this, you're going to take and you're going to stop and you're going to snip it off. And then just for fun, look at the back, see how you did. Well, your stitches look good. That's what we were looking for. Don't worry about that line because it's not going to matter in the long run because you can see what a nice line I have on the front. And now we're going to do a finger press. And that way you don't have to run to the ironing board. Now, if you've got a little iron you want to have sit there, but there's something about just doing a finger press that I think it's got to do with when you iron. Lots of times you do iron and you don't just press. And so when you do this, they lay really nice. And you can look out there and I've got that seam. So then what I would do is that I would pick up the next one, my next color, and I'm going to lay it on this one. I'm going to match them up. They're pretty nice to hold, but if you are not sure about it, pin it together, and then you start, and you go all the way across there. Now, you go all the way and do all of that row, and then you start and you do the next row. And I'm not going to make this all in one session, and I'll put them next to each other so you can take a break and I can get the next part ready, because what we're going to do next is we're going to take and lay our rows next to each other and pin them and then get ready to stitch across there. Thank you. Part 2 will be coming.